So I'm Kevin Ash, the director of the film.
Jesse Eisenberg, acting in the movie.
Justin Bartha.
Danny Abikaza.
Producer and actor. And here we are on Canal Street.
This was not intended to be the first scene
Yes.
of the movie. It started off with the montage that follows.
Yeah.
Kevin, do you want to explain why it wound up there?
Sure. No, it was actually a suggestion by Justin to put in a scene prior to the opening montage. So we tried a few and just put that in, and then immediately it worked. Just jumped right into your Jesse's character's point of view.
Mm-hmm.
Now this takes us. This opening credit sequence. We ride in from Manhattan on the bridge and on the subway into the Brooklyn community of Williamsburg, and here we are on Lee Avenue. And these are all real Hasidic Jews, except for
That baby.
that baby. No, actually, the man on the left right there, that's Jesse.
Mm-hmm.
That is Jesse?
Yes. That was his idea.
Wait, isn't Pear in this sequence walking?
Yes.
I remember
Yes,
that.
Pear acted as a body double
You might want to
for...
explain who Pear is.
Pear Melita is one of the producers of the film, and
Mark Ivany already left, right?
yeah, he already left. He was already wrapped, and we're coming up to that shot actually pretty soon. There's this music by MJ Mynarski was something that he created actually 2 years prior to shooting, and it ended up working again perfectly. There's Pear on the right, and Jesse on the left, and that's supposed to be Mark Ivanier. And here is Mark Ivanier on the left.
Movie magic.
The great Mark Ivany.
Wow, yeah. And now we're in the Gold Home, and the great Elizabeth Marvel, and young Yonkel, the young boy right there, was our his name's Alessandro, and he was our wardrobe designer's son. Fortunate enough to donate him.
Jackie Roach's kid, right?
Jackie Roach, exactly.
And he's really adorable. Very cooperative.
Yeah, and that's Jesse. This is your sister that is standing next to you,
Mm-hmm.
and you cast her. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, thank you.
After a lengthy audition process,
In your house, yes.
she tested in LA.
Yeah,
Her agents lobbied for months.
yeah.
Yeah, I had to negotiate with them.
Yeah.
Right. It was my quota to only have one Eisenberg, and so to really allow another one in was just a leap of faith.
Well said.
And here we are, Brooklyn, 1998. This is Flatbush Synagogue, and this was, to me, one of the hardest days. There's Stella Keitel, looking beautiful, and Bern Cohn, the rabbi, and the Rebbe, and Jason Fuchs, the good student with the menorah. This day was incredibly hard because this scene was supposed to be outside, and it was
Didn't it rain like crazy that day?
crazy. It was a torrential downpour of just pure ice. And,
I remember that.
And on shoots like this, we came back to this location multiple times to set up. So we weren't prepared to light this room or fill it. And unfortunately, we have women and men in the same chapel, which is not exactly correct to the Orthodox lifestyle. So.
Well, they're in the same room, but they're separated by a divider.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe too much sugar?
Take Yonkel. He has to wash his hands.
I think that's it for the DVD commentary.
Yeah, and we're.
For,
Thank you for joining us.
Please rewind your DVDs.
The latkes and the wine.
Traditional
challah.
Jewish dinner.
Yeah, and this
was originally like a long, like a several-page scene, maybe like a 3-page scene, but of course to shoot, each character's shot, in a 3-page scene would take the entire day. So we did it this way, and of course it plays nicely, like it's one beautiful shot.
little slice of life.
Right.
And
And
it's
then,
almost like you're peeking inside on this family as we introduce them to the audience.
Mm-hmm.
They're interacting with each other for the first time.
And here we are on the way back to Manhattan, in Canal Street again, and the M&A Decorators, the fabric store that was our location. And
That's why I'm not profiting on this deal. Look, ma'am, your daughter will have a beautiful dress made from
this was a really awesome location.
This is the first day of shooting, actually.
Yeah, yeah. This.
Okay, thank you. The idea with this scene, as it relates to the whole story, is to, it displays not only the relationship between Sam and his father, but Sam's kind of business acumen and good negotiating skills, so that when he moves into the drug world, he's able to use the skills you see here.
He's also obviously bilingual.
Yeah, and actually, that was Mark's idea.
Trilingual.
That he felt like they would try to relate to the other cultures that came in the store.
Right. Yeah, he learns a little Spanish so he can appease the customers.
¿Qué pasó? ¿Qué pasó? He says that.
Right.
And you say no paso, no paso.
Right. Because Sam doesn't speak Spanish.
No.
As was my interpretation of Sam. This was also the first day. Just to give a general overview of what shooting this was like, this movie in general. This first day would have been a week of shooting on kind of a bigger budget movie. As we go through the movie, we can point out the scenes that were shot on the first day, and that would take up
probably half the movie.
Yeah. I guess it was front loaded, but as well as but just every day was just so many scenes you couldn't.
So those are two separate locations right there.
Kevin, why don't you explain what this location is?
Yeah. Well, this shot right here. This is a stage that we were on, and here is a actual house that we were in. And that's Robin Bird.
How hard was it to get the rights of Robin Bird?
Jen Gation, one of our producers, is friendly with her, actually. So in the script, it was supposed to be Vanna White, if you guys remember.
Right.
And we weren't going to be able to get the rights from Merv Griffin for Vanna White, and it hit me that Robin Bird was sort of the perfect choice, and Jen jumped up and knew her, and Robin sent us over some footage and was very cooperative.
Good job, Jen.
Pat Sajak was originally supposed to play the Sam character.
I remember you, Justin, telling me this woman who plays your mother was really crying back there.
She was fantastic.
Yeah.
You don't see her much in the film, but she took her role very seriously, and she was an amazing and gracious actress.
I hear from people, this is always very shocking to see Justin, your character, act this way immediately, and smoking on Shabbos and cursing and talking this way, and it's sort of not common to portray Hasidic Jews. And Jesse, what was going on here with you and your character? I mean, you seem to be attracted to Yosef, but also disgusted by innocence.
Yeah, I think Sam thinks his neighbor is the coolest guy in the world, but he can't show his best friend Leon that. He thinks his brother's awesome, and Sam's kind of. I mean, I don't know how much you can tell from these early scenes, but Sam is really interested in Yosef, and but just is unable to.
I think you already can, from this earlier, from looking through the window and the television.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
And this is kind of the big bad wolf. I always saw this scene as kind of the big bad wolf chasing.
Yeah, I remember when you said that to me on set, when it was my idea to have the three of you walking together, and you said, no, I think he should be following and following them and just annoying them. Yeah.
I just thought the key to the introduction to the character would be, you see that the dichotomy between him and Sam. Sam, we introduce his character. He's with his family. He's praying. He's at a temple. You see that lifestyle, and the first time you see Yosef, his mother is walking away from him, and he's smoking, and you obviously see the big difference.
Yeah.
And the fact that he doesn't follow them to synagogue.
Sure, it's clear.
It's so clear that he's like, you guys go.
He stays away from synagogue. Yeah, not allowed in there anymore.
And here we see Leon as the good student, and Sam.
And that's the wonderful Jason Fuchs. He's a
Yes.
fantastic young actor and a very sweet man.
Very sweet.
Yeah, Jason really, when he came in to audition, he was the only one that seemed to really understand the tone immediately. Either someone would play it way too somber or very serious or kind of like Henny Youngman, one of the two extremes. And Jason came in and was just a real person. And
I remember you telling me, we got Leon. We
Yeah.
got Leon. And I was like, wait, hold, no. We got him.
Yeah.
Trust me, we have him.
Yeah.
He's tied up in our closet. We got
Yeah.
him.
And once I,
Well, he really needed to be a doppelganger to Sam and be convincing
he
as a
was
brother
it was-
to Yosef. But beyond that, he's a brilliant young actor. And
I remember watching the audition tape, and it was perfect.
Yeah. And this, when he hits the desk, that's when he said, line, the Rebbe. Actually, he was, he hit boom, and he was asking for the line. But the editor and I thought that was such a great gesture, because he's so frustrated with Sam, that it felt like a good
Bern
thing
Cohen.
to use. Yeah, Bern Cohen,
Bern Cohen.
who came in late in the game and just killed it for us. And here we are at what they call the Bishow.
Which is an arranged marriage.
This is the first date between two young people. And
Actually, we screened this for the Israeli Council 2 days ago, and there was a Hasidic Jew in the audience.
Yeah.
And he made a comment how realistic this situation would be. The parents would obviously sit in on it, and they wouldn't be very close to each other.
I always love
that.
Jesse in this. It feels like the suit's wearing you in this scene rather than you
Yeah.
wearing it.
That's how I normally wear suits anyway.
Oh, very well.
Danny, do you want to maybe take this time before the movie kind of really propels forward to talk about the initial how you kind of thought to make this story into a movie?
Yes. Well, about 5 years ago, I watched a small little documentary series on Discovery Channel called Interpol's Fight on Drugs. And it was broken down to 4 different segments. One of them was about this Hasidic community and their whole interaction with smuggling ecstasy into the country for this Israeli drug dealer. And I just thought it would be fascinating to, show that world. I've never really seen that world. So obviously I started researching it myself and found all these great stories that happened in the late 90s.
Yeah.
Once I made the decision, I contacted Kevin Ash.
Yeah, and not
we
far,
decided-
and then once we had a script, a really working script, Jesse got involved, and not long after that, Justin was involved. So the 4 of us have been involved in this project for years.
It seems like 3 years now, right?
Yeah, and all really became partners in pushing the material along.
I remember my
This
meeting
scene.
with Jesse on 23rd and 2nd in the diner.
How similar is this movie to your original vision of what it could be when you saw that? documentary?
Honestly, I did not picture it being told through the eyes of Sam's character. I kind of looked at it more of a drug movie because that was just my initial thought. But credit goes to everybody involved. Kevin, I remember telling me that when I first told him about the story, the first thing he thought about is a Hasidic Jew in a nightclub and how awkward that would look.
Yeah, just the juxtapositions of those worlds immediately within that one image was clear to me, and that was so distinctly visual, and immediately a movie, and nice jump, Jesse. Clearly.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
One of the several body stunt doubles we had.
Yeah.
But
This is this scene coming up again as first day. First day. This is actually the first scene of the first day.
it is.
Yeah, this was it. No, this was always a trouble thing. I actually wanted to reshoot because it's a bit out of focus. Certainly, Jason is on the right, and Sam's a little bit in and out in it. But
Yet for the purpose of this DVD commentary, it was on purpose.
well, yes, it's stylistic.
Sam doesn't really know where he is anymore. Is he
Yeah.
3
Yes.
feet away
He's
from the
out of-
camera?
He's figuratively lost, and
Sam doesn't know at stop. He's
Yeah.
filming. No, there were 2 beautiful long shots, and then there was that one shot which really covered the dialogue.
Yeah.
Which the scene plays on, and in that, because it's early in the movie too, it's hard to play the whole scene on those
It is.
longer shots anyway.
Ultimately, it worked. I like to think it did. So,
And then we pre-lap dialogue over those establishing shots of Canal Street.
Right.
to kind of cut down on the amount of time you'd see the shot that was not as perfect as it could have been.
Exactly. Yes.
So.
And that's the wonderful Elizabeth Marvel playing Jesse's mother, and she was just fantastic also.
I always saw this scene here as Sam peeking in on his own childhood in a sense and sort of saying goodbye to it or turning his back on it and looking through the doorway
And the story that Mendel tells Yankel used to be kind of, I mean, in the script was really it was a microcosm of the whole story and a parable for Sam's journey and the journey into the kind of the darker world. And
taking the apple from the tree
and that was how the movie started. The movie originally the script originally was started in prison, of Sam picking apples in the yard in prison. And just as we started to develop the script, I know, Kevin, you probably have a better idea of how that stuff kind of fell by the wayside.
It did. It ultimately, as we all worked together, as actors and collaborators, actor director, we always found that we found ways that the character can motivate the plot, and a lot of these details seemed unnecessary as they just would fall to the wayside. A lot of these sort of overly dramatic motifs, in a sense, that weren't necessary. And
this is the one kind of time you see Yosef trying to really protect his brother, in a sense, telling him to go home. It's a bit of foreshadowing of what's to come.
Oh, I thought you do it because he's like your annoying younger brother.
I mean, the idea was to always try to have just a second of him trying to get him out of there.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
I see. Oh, that's interesting.
And nor do you want it to really come out in the home, I imagine.
Well, I think he
doesn't really
his home life is so screwed up.
Right.
It
doesn't really matter. Well, this that line, Justin, I remember you giving me that line, and we were sitting at your house, really, probably early 2008, and you gave me that suggestion. I thought that was always very
Which
funny.
line?
He doesn't like maybe doesn't like doctors.
Right.
Yeah.
The great Ari Graynor.
Yeah, great Graynor. There she is. Let's talk about her for a minute. And Ari was the last person cast. She came in and auditioned with Jesse and Justin, and for me, it didn't feel like an audition. It more felt like a rehearsal. Immediately, she was game and was just going off book with them, and had no fear. And she jumped right in with us in the way that we were all sort of reworking the material.
Well, that was also what's amazing about Ari is, the four of us had all this time to develop the script, and it was ever changing. But the one thing we kind of never really got a handle on was this female character, even at one time. And Jesse, you recommended that maybe we even cut that character, and we were thinking about it. So we were a little lost with that because, the character wasn't really well drawn out. And then Ari came in and immediately gave life to that part and a whole new dimension to this film.
And here we are on an airplane, which was a stage, and
I like to mention
Carrie.
Yeah, this beautiful girl's a friend of ours. Her name is Carrie Morgan.
And there's Justin in the back checking out the girl, or Yosef rather, and we. I always loved. This was in the script early on. This was always there.
Yeah, that was always.
I don't.
Originally, they were watching. Then it cut to later in the flight, and they were watching the Armageddon movie,
that's
and
right.
Sam just had no idea what he was watching. And then there's a scene with animal crackers on.
Well, you were eating some food, and you were looking around, hoping that nobody was noticing that you're watching the movie.
Oh, right.
A very intimate scene between Ben Affleck and Liv Tyler. Yes, that was in the screenplay. This is Newark Airport here. It's supposed to be Amsterdam.
First day.
This is no. Yes.
Also the first day we flew to Amsterdam.
This is the red light district. This is not the red light district. This is Dumbo, and the car is not moving. It's poor man's process, what you call it.
And the great Per Melita again driving.
Oh, he was the taxi driver, right?
was.
So this is what we did was we assembled the movie, and then we went out and did that second unit day in Amsterdam. So we knew what we would want to get from Sam's perspective.
There's my apartment.
And that's one of my sisters. Thank you. Yes, a black sheep of the family. This was Jesse. I remember you suggesting to me, what if there was Germans fighting behind a wall? So I always wanted sex behind the wall because it's a red light district. So I sort of combined the two of sort of an angry German sex.
So they're staying
Which
in
is
like
the norm.
Yeah.
in one of those little motels in Amsterdam.
Right. And here we are in the morning in Amsterdam.
This, among others, is
Pear believing.
my dad rowing.
This is Pear, but it is Pear's voice. He is the one saying. He came in and did the. He's doing. I forgot what the guy that yells out is called.
That was funny.
This
Yes.
is a nice little tracking reveal of Jesse staying awake the entire night.
And it was nice we
listening
put
to
the
love making.
Yeah. So. And I don't know if you weren't thinking that, but certainly we're projecting onto you that you're listening to this lovemaking all night and can't sleep.
It turns into a teen romp for a minute.
Yeah.
All night.
And he had an apple pie and was going at it, but we ultimately left it on the cutting room floor. This was done in a oneer, which a lot of this movie was done in. This was just 3 takes. This was take 3, and you need actors like this that could just keep the moment alive on screen without manipulating it through cutting. And I'd imagine that's something incredibly challenging. I love the silhouette of this shot. As you'll see later in the movie, it has an emotional resonance in Sam's journey.
Yeah. We had a day to shoot at Newark, so all of the scenes that take place, not these scenes on the airplane. This was on a stage. We rented like 6 seats of a plane or something, right?
It was 12.
Yeah.
seats,
12.
Yeah.
But
12 rows. of
and that
seats.
was shot in Brooklyn, right, on the stage.
Yeah, on a stage in Brooklyn. And when we had a tax credit from New York, and you have to have 1 day on a stage, but we did need 1 day on a stage. And now we're back in Newark Airport, and as Jesse was saying,
Right. This is one of obviously these scenes are probably some of the most important scenes of the movie, but we only had a day to shoot all of the scenes that take place in the airport. And
inside and outside at the parking lot.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
it was. And they actually are very film friendly over at Newark Airport. And we're as accommodating as they could be. No, we couldn't shut down the airport or shut down our section, but fortunately we're able to capture what we needed.
obviously, we built these, this custom section. I was always concerned,
Yeah.
that it would just be impossible to shoot anything that looks realistic. But watching it, it seems fine. It seems
It's
like
1998 too. You never know.
right.
Yeah.
They had low budget customs.
Yeah.
But no, anyway, it looks great. It's very effective, and the way it was shot just adds to the tension. You don't notice that there's not a full plane load of international flight coming off the.
Maybe you could take a second and talk about the brilliant Ben Cutchins who added amazing
what you're
amount of
watching
stuff.
here is the work of our cinematographer Ben Cutchins, who just has an incredible ability to not follow the action when he uses handheld, but really somehow gets inside the emotions of the scene, and he's fearless in his ability to do that, and is not afraid to hold on to a frame.
Being a first-time filmmaker, Kevin,
Yeah.
did Ben help you out? Was he very helpful with how does that working relationship happen?
Well, yeah, I mean, I certainly, before Ben came on, I had a whole preconceptualize of the film. I sort of visualized what I wanted, and it ultimately started also, it helped to be a starting off point in us figuring out where we wanted to go with it. But once we knew how low of a budget we were going to make this movie for, a lot of those ideas had to fall to the wayside, just like a lot of the script. And we knew we really weren't going to be able to put the camera down on tracks or on sticks ever, for the reason that we had to move quick. And maybe there was only 1 or less than 5 times we really do that within the film. And so Ben, really, he just opened up the well, I don't know. I mean, he was, you know, look, I wanted a peer. And Ben is someone who really understood, and we sort of spoke the same language emotionally, in a sense of what we were looking to do with this film. And we would watch films like Mean Streets and really try to emulate these great dramas of the 70s. And
Well, I remember when you told me about Ben, and you gave me a DVD of Bomb the System, was it?
yeah.
And I was like, this is the guy.
You know, he's not afraid of darkness, as you can see in this scene
Which
that we're watching
what
right
I
now.
really liked. It just made it
and
so real.
He pushes the density in a way that and I'm sure a lot of cinematographers, or certainly in Hollywood, are going to be afraid to do. They're going to want that glossy, overlit feel, and Ben is after that realism.
I could also say, as an actor, I was so pleasantly surprised to see that you could do anything and Ben would follow you. He held the camera for about 90% of this movie, maybe more. I don't. There's very few scenes where it's like static shots, and you could do anything in the scene and he'd follow you. Not only would he follow you, but he'd follow occasionally where your hands were going. So as an actor, you didn't have to. It's not just an isolated shot where you have to just be aware of what a small part of you is doing. He'd follow you. It's particularly evident in the scenes later with Rachel outside the club, where he would just follow. And this scene is a perfect example. You go from the shoe, Sam, taping up his shoe and
Rack
lamenting
focus.
his, the poverty, to his father begging for some money. This is one shot, and then back focus to Sam, disappointed with his life. I mean, it tells seven stories in one shot.
He catches everything. He's almost like a psychic filmmaker. It's amazing. I've never worked with anyone as talented. I mean, he's just outstanding.
I mean, you really need to have complete confidence in everybody you hire as a director, and in Ben, undeniably, I had that confidence in, and at a certain point after the first few days, I really stopped looking at the monitor at points and just was focusing on the performances, because I knew what he was doing was right.
For me, obviously I haven't acted much, so I wasn't, too experienced with it, but I just felt like so comfortable around it.
Yeah,
it didn't feel like I didn't feel like he was there. It was just always, it seemed like, which I don't know if it happens on most sets, but for me,
I met with a lot of older DPs that seem to be a lot more, as they would say, seasoned in a sense, but I never felt comfortable with them, and they always would, "I'll do your movie, kid," and there was just this disconnect. Yeah, and he was right there with me. I mean, as we all four were, Ben became a partner on this project, and he. And this here
is actually in my apartment.
Yes, this is Danny's.
Which I would never do ever again. They destroyed it, and it took me days to try to get it back.
Yosef in this scene.
Now that comment is preserved forever.
He seems so in his skin here, as compared to outside his home.
Mm-hmm. You're literally entering a different world here. It's interesting, even the color schemes and the movements of the camera, and you have obviously a completely different type of person that's hanging out, and it's the entering into a new world.
Yeah.
That is what I feel every time I go into Danny's apartment.
Now Sam's left alone here, and he doesn't know where to sort of put himself, and no one is friendly to him.
Kevin, you want to tell them
Rachel.
about the song that's playing?
Yeah, the song that's playing is Jazzmatazz by Guru, one of the greatest hip hop artists ever, who unfortunately passed away very recently.
About a month ago.
And it's about a month ago, and it's just truly an honor to have his music in the movie. They were really very easy to work with, in a sense that they were very open to allowing us to keep the song, and gave us pretty as decent price as they could. And it for me, it was so great because there's 27 original cues of music in this film. There's only 2 songs that, and one really only works. The other song works as a score, as we'll hear later, by Matisyahu. So this is the only song that actually is, a real song, in a sense, that was part of the 90s.
It wasn't an original.
It wasn't an original song created for the film. This is a classic 90s hip hop track. So as we enter this new world, as Justin said, sort of the validity of this song really helps the
Great close-up
reality
on
of
my
the film.
face on that
Yeah, you
one.
do look beautiful
Yeah,
there.
God.
I love how you actually grab Jesse and pull him with you.
Come here, I want to talk to you for a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do that a lot in my everyday life.
This is where I remember we had to move quick, and I know we only could get 2 shots out of this scene, so it was every day we had to reduce our shot list by like something like 80%, and figure out how could we capture. And again, this is credit to Ben. How could we continue to capture what we wanted with less coverage, and also credit to the actors who were game and probably not used to not having as much coverage or takes on a film. But it was great to sort of see Jackie move around the room and really get the sense of this space being his like lair in a way. Sam and his innocence with the sneakers.
I remember you telling me, don't ask him to put the sneaker on, make him put him like,
Right.
Order him to put him on. And I remember just Jesse looking at me like, he's like, now? I'm like, yeah, put him on. He was like, okay. He was like kind of an order. But really, basically put the tone to where Jackie.
And
Yeah.
so Mendel is he would never be okay with those type of sneakers. So Sam is a nervous wreck, and but he's still completely confused, I think, to what he's involved in. He's talking so highly of Jackie. He's not unsure. He's still unsure of sort of the
illegality. But
Yeah.
he knows. Sam knows at this point. He has to hide something.
Yes.
You know, he's kind of caught between wanting to know more about it, but also not wanting to know about it, because once he knows about it, he's further involved, and he knows it's not.
and his father senses something.
This scene I think is just fantastic. I mean, what's amazing about Jesse and Mark in this scene, you have it's all about for me it's all about instincts. You have 2 characters that are literally you see what their instincts are, and then you hear what they're going against their instincts. So you have
Right.
someone hiding something, and then you have someone trying to approach them about something that they know they're hiding, and then it's the layers of that scene is just a fantastic way to set up the rest of the story.
And now we see him walking in these new shoes, and
I love that when you see that van,
yeah.
you always know something bad's coming. Right? It's like it's such a.
And here's the
Kind
first
of like
time
my childhood when I saw a van like that.
that
I like that.
That's a different story. But this is the first time we see Yosef without his payas, actually. And this was a hilarious little scene. The outtakes of that is actually quite funny.
Which one?
The 2 of you guys on the plane. It's the second to
Oh,
last day,
plane.
and you both were a bit giddy that day as we were wrapping up. And Jesse, what was going through your mind here watching this?
You know, this is the first time you watch like something. I mean, and we all have this experience watching something like that, and it's just. But for Sam, it's to the extreme, because he's never seen anything even close to that.
What was that clip?
It was public access. There was a public access clip that we found online. You know what I related it to? It was the European version of Robin Bird for me.
Right.
Is what I was equated it to. All right, so this is Amsterdam, and this was snow. It was so
cold at the end, and I almost slipped and killed myself, and you kept it in the scene.
Yeah, I thought it was great because
really?
I thought it was realistic with the cobblestone streets and everything like that. So, all those little beautiful accidents are very human.
Actually, right now we're shooting this in my nightclub, Marquee, New York.
If you mention this DVD, you get 10% off the cover price.
Stop saying that. That's not true.
Holy 10.
So what we're looking to do here is certainly this is Sam's.
free coat check.
Not even that.
Yeah.
For one regular size jacket.
Well, we wanted this sort of disorientation of Sam in this environment of a nightclub, which was chaotic and scary, and sort of we wanted this feel of the backlit and these jump cuts to sort of help emulate his anxiety in being in such an extreme situation. There's
There he
Q-Tip.
is.
Q-Tip.
Yeah. And
Just the tip.
this
as we call it.
this image of Sam on the steps is really so close to the image that I had in my head 5 years ago when Danny first told me that story. I mean, to the T. I was probably spending a lot of time in Marquee at that time, and standing on those steps, and
Wearing Hasidic Jewish clothing.
yeah,
He does it every Tuesday and Thursday.
right.
10% off Marquee Tuesday, Thursday.
Free lollipops.
Tuesday, baby, Tuesday.
Two more ice cubes into your drink if you mention Rollers 04.
DVD
Go
commentary.
to holyrollerfilm.com. Find
So this
was the coldest day ever.
it was one of them. Yeah.
No. Ever.
It was cold. It was cold. Ben and I wanted these sort of fragments in this scene. So we really, he kept the camera, as Jesse said, this was the scene you were describing earlier.
Yeah.
He kept it moving. We would focus a little bit sometimes on Sam and sometimes on Rachel. So we were able to, cut it up. But there was nothing exact that we were looking for. We just really wanted these sort of alive fragments, sort of these snapshots of these moments. And it ended up, coming out really, really, really wonderful. I mean, this scene goes through just three emotions. Sam is just running out the door, wanting away from this. And what was it? So she draws you in, and somehow there's a moment where you don't want to go.
Yeah, I mean, my feeling for it was less about like being attracted to her kind of sexually. It's more about being really homesick at this point, and so it's more, she kind of was more of a mother figure at this point.
Right.
Which is why I think he doesn't run away. I think if it was just a sexual attraction, I don't think that would be strong enough to keep him there. But he's homesick.
And this is also a testament to Ari. Obviously, you've heard before how hard it is to play drunk or stoned or intoxicated in any way, which it is, and Ari's done it in a few movies. But what I have never seen is someone that's able to play intoxicated and drive a scene at the same time. That is something that is so hard to do, and Ari does it effortlessly.
Right, she can be manipulative, but
Yeah.
still not in control.
It's really an unbelievable thing.
Yeah, and we started to go to a really interesting place with the sound design here. You start hearing these waves, these sort of, which was some of the direction I gave her, how ecstasy feels. You go through these motions, these waves, and it just starts to hit you. And right now she's tripping really hard.
In the entire.
Sounds like you're talking from experience.
I am actually. I am talking from experience. In the '90s, I partaked in my taking a lot taking that's for sure, and going to a lot of nightclubs, and I videotaped.
In her research, you gave her tapes of yourself.
I
right?
did. I
Tapes.
had I videotaped as somebody who wanted to be a filmmaker. I think I had a camera with me for years of my life, capturing all of high school, all of college years, and a lot of drug experience. And so I have a lot of videotape of friends and myself on ecstasy and all these other things. And I showed a little bit of that or a bunch of that to Jesse and Ari.
And soon after this DVD commentary, the feds.
And the feds, and I think it scared Jesse. I remember you walking with you to the subway, and you're like, I never even thought of you in that way, or I was high, Jesse. So I don't know.
Oh no, I thought it was fine. No,
Okay.
it's just it was like.
I was pretty out there.
Oh no, I
Okay.
thought you were fine. No, it was
Okay.
just it was a long tape.
Oh,
So this,
The reason I don't cut my hair that short is because of that bald spot in the back. If you guys noticed that.
no, but that's very honest of you, Danny, on the
Yeah,
CBD commentary. I haven't noticed that. So now when you meet Danny, look for it. Here is the great Q-Tip, and in his lab, and this.
With a big star of David around his neck.
Yeah, he's playing as an Ethiopian Jew,
Ephraim.
and who spent, as I said to him, spent a lot of time in New York, and I imagine him and Jackie had a past together in New York, running around in clubs and dealing with drugs. And
That's why he said this is not a club, Jackie.
That's right, and this is Jackie's connection, and this is how he starts into this business in a sense that he has access to these pills for cheap in Amsterdam. And
Well, I always felt, even though in the research that I did, I realized that one of the things that really stood out was the character found a way to buy this ecstasy at like $2 a pill. The only thing that he was missing was how to bring it in from Europe to New York.
Yeah.
And that's where he came up with the idea of using Hasidic Jews or whatever it was, that he was using beside them.
oh, we missed that part where this was Justin's wonderful suggestion of. In fact, Yosef wasn't even in this scene until you came. And in New York, and great, suggested that he should just be fucking up this deal. And
there
this is
just
the
needed to
turning
be-
point.
And gives him
Originally,
an
there needed to be
opportunity
some kind
to-
of conflict in the scene, and I thought we figured out how to get him to throw up everywhere. I just wanted to throw up in a scene. It'd be
Well, I feel
near
this was
death
the right
by being
moment
really
for
high.
Sam to step up and
Yeah.
really show more professionalism.
24 hours a day for 7 days a week. It can produce more than 1.4 million pills a week. You need to
This
keep moving. We can help
this
you.
math I got from a real breakdown of sort of a crime report on an ecstasy lab in Amsterdam.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, I did my research. I took ecstasy and went to nightclubs, but I did not smuggle or anything like that. So don't get it wrong, feds. Please do not come after me. This scene, I love this scene between you two guys. There's just so much happening. And
This is your favorite scene in the movie, yo.
This and the fill-in scene later. Yeah, there's.
Yeah, this is my favorite scene because I think it perfectly personifies what we wanted to get from the whole movie, which is kind of like the interpersonal conflict surrounded, in the with this bigger story at the backdrop, and this scene perfectly encapsulates that in the most subtle and complicated way.
The flashes of insecurity in your eyes, Justin, that you put into
Right.
Yosef, and he wants to keep the control, but he's completely in over his head as well.
It's what Jesse said was, we always, the conflict within these two characters, Yosef and Sam, the power play, their social standing, whether it be in their family or in their new family, the drug family, and you seeing, one of them descending, one of them ascending through these ranks and overlapping what they are and what they were, and
also you see your character is needy and
Yeah.
desperate for a place in the world, which is why these characters get involved in this thing in the first place. The money and all that stuff is really secondary to finding a place you feel comfortable, especially in light
Family.
of feeling uncomfortable in this world.
This was my first scene on the first day,
This is first day, everyone.
and I was really nervous, and
I was really nervous too.
I remember Kevin saying to me, "Just act like you're meeting your girlfriend's dad for the first time. Just be nice and polite." And
I charm him.
and I remember Justin grabbing me on the side and giving me the talk. He's like, "You can do this. I've seen you do it in the house 20
Yeah.
times. You can do it."
Well, what was,
But
there
you
was-
have to understand, for me, it was the first day. I was also, a producer on the movie, so I was kind of dealing with signing.
We're on the
all
streets of New York, too.
But I remember Justin coming up to me, grabbed me, and took me to the side, and said to me, "Danny, I've seen you do it 20 times in the house in the
we
last
worked
couple
a
of
lot.
weeks." Yeah.
Danny,
We
Danny and
rehearsed
Jesse
so
and
much.
I, we would always work on these scenes,
And that
try
gave
to get
me
to the right
a
place.
lot of confidence to be like, you know what, I do know this. Why, why am
You
I
end up
struggling
doing it-
here?
You did a great
Yeah,
job.
that's fantastic.
Well, once that scene was done, from everybody's great advice, Justin, Kevin's, and Jesse was there too. After that, I felt like comfortable, and I was able to go with it, get into character.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was, there was a lot of dialogue that Mark had and Sam had that they ended up not doing. So, in a lot of that preparation,
Okay.
I would tell you that you got to be ready for these guys because they're gonna do things differently on set, and you got to be in Jackie. You got to be prepared to answer
Right. I
and
mean,
be
I
ready as
remember.
Jackie.
I remember always thinking, what is the objective here? I mean,
Exactly,
and
yeah.
what, if you keep, then you don't really have to stick with every line. You can kind of improvise.
Yeah, but you're great with that. I mean, that's what you do.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right. Thank you.
this is my favorite line. Justin goes, "How are you? How are you doing?" and it's like it's such a funny part of the character.
Why are you in a hurry?
Couldn't care less.
I love that
It's-
spit.
Yeah. He kind of looks like, to me, a little like Ratso Rizzo there a little bit.
Exactly.
In his walk.
Yeah.
And this is a nice young actor named Evan Weinstein who plays the man on the left. And here is Sam has the magic touch somehow.
We were so lucky with every single actor we got in this film. I mean, everyone is so authentic and so honest. It's really amazing. Even this scene too. We have Mark Rose. I remember we were doing this. Was a great night. We were. We had to fill some time in before this drug deal, and we were just like, why don't we just tell a joke? This was your
It was
joke,
my
wasn't
joke.
it? Danny had this joke with a rabbit and a bear.
Yeah, it's an Eddie Murphy joke
Yeah.
from Delirious.
And Yosef is at this point really kind of always on drugs, and he's trying to, you see him trying to, for the last second, trying to control the situation as much as he can by making these, guys wait for their drug deal, and yet it's just the most ridiculous situation.
Honestly,
This is Andrew Levitas
Angela
and Mark Rose.
Rose, the great Mark Rose.
And Charlie Hudson, who's over there on the right, who we've got to mention earlier.
Yes.
Plays Andrew.
Charlie's also a great young actor who's one of the producer Tori's brother, and he's just great.
And he's very tall. I had to add that in. But I remember the scene, it just really makes such a difference between Sam and Yosef, where Sam obviously is so taken by this situation, and Yosef just jumps right in. He's like, hold on, I'll be right back.
Yeah, he lives for it.
Yeah, and it just comes
And
naturally.
also, before he jumps in, he wants to just show Sam that what he's getting into at first. So he pushes him a little to see, well, you can't take over from me yet. You don't really have the balls.
Right. But then the juxtaposition to this scene where Sam is running the books, and that's something that
He might
probably
not have the
Yosef would-
balls, but he has the smarts.
Right.
Which Yosef is definitely lacking in.
And this is where Jackie starts to even have more trust into Sam, and he's obviously moved up in the ranks, and he's trusting him with bringing money to Europe, and now they have this moment of
This is
sharing.
just brilliant. I mean, this is just when you see this is Danny showing off. I mean, you're just so great in this scene.
Thank you. I mean, honestly, I do it every Friday.
Yeah, I
call
Danny
my
is
mom every Friday, and it's literally the same conversation. It's like, I love you. I'm not
I've been in a
town.
car with
Where are
Danny,
you?
and I've been with Danny, and he's done this, and that's why I put this into the scene, and I knew. To me, every time I watch you do it with your mom, it's just so wonderful.
I remember Jesse, Sam, interrupting me while I'm trying to talk to my mom, and I don't like anybody interrupting me, even in my personal life. I'm trying to be very nice.
Anyway, so this is.
Thank you, Justin. No, so
Yeah.
so the finger thing is something that I gotta watch, and how I.
So this scene here, this was supposed to be a little later in the movie, and we moved it up. And and all these scenes were really actually the second act was really rearranged.
Totally rearranged. Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
very lucky with actually the fact that everything got rearranged and it's still continuity-wise
the fortunate,
with the payas. And
yeah, Sam only really has 3 outfits in a sense. So I recommend that to any filmmakers as much as you can to meet people with the same wardrobe.
I love how Jesse and his sister are just so.
Did you guys
Related.
play with that a little bit on your own, or is it just
No.
now you just jumped into it?
But this scene was supposed to follow the scene where I fight with my father,
Exactly.
so kind of coming off of it was much more intense than the stove scene. So I mean, even though Justin, you mentioned the continuity, and you're right, everything kind of does still fit together, but I get a little when I watch it, it makes me feel
Bit of an
like,
emotional jump.
yeah, I think there's too much of an emotional jump, which I mean I guess.
performance gets.
And then back to this scene, which has no residual effect, because I think
Right.
this came before that scene.
Yeah,
And so this
exactly.
has no residual effect of the scene prior to it, and it bothers me as an actor. But I mean, I guess it holds together as I guess the story is not affected.
This is the family he wants to be with. He's just kicked. That's the family that is not accepting him and not accepting his gifts.
Right, so he's
So-
contented to be in the car.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're all making him
Works
feel.
pretty great.
And he's just living in the moment at the time.
And he's really finding his place in this other world, which is horrible and wonderful to watch at the same time, in a sense. And this song is an original track by M.J. Mynarski, who was the composer, ended up creating a few songs for the film because, again, we were so low budget that we didn't have any ability to license song, and I was unaware that he actually was a songwriter or could do that. I knew he was an incredible composer, but he's just, he really, was a hero on this movie.
He did a great job.
And here, Sam, I love this. You're stepping up into your confidence. Jesse, the subtle nuances and building the confidence in your characters is something that was, you fully owned, and something that we'd never even discussed or anything. And it was a discovery for me in the editing room. And first time I really noticed those changes was in the script, the full script reading that we did before shooting. And I just loved it. I mean, to me, there was no big leap that you took, but just subtle changes.
Yeah, I mean, the character's not, he doesn't rise to become the kingpin of the operation. That wouldn't be realistic or, true to the character. But, he steps up a little bit and he starts repeating what Yosef has told him.
It's a great joy for me just sitting in the editing room consistently, but constantly being surprised by these guys, these actors, and even being on set. There's so much happening.
Wait, that might seem like a kind of cheap metaphor, but that actually happened. We were supposed to just close the mirror, but on like the third take, or maybe it was the only take, I don't know, but it cracked, and so
Completely real reaction.
life imitating obvious art.
It looked great.
Or obvious life imitating.
This was the second day, actually, this
This is in
scene.
Queens, right?
No, this is Williamsburg, somewhat near the Hasidic community. So this fruit stand gets a bunch of all different cultures. It's a hotbed of Brooklyn. And we picked this location, but there was 3 subway tracks, if you guys remember, that were going. And I actually thought there was only one, if I thought we would have a lot of time between takes. But the subway sound ended up being awesome. Design, and this is all real production sound.
We actually started filming this scene during the day, and then it was such a difficult location to work at that we ended up just waiting till sundown and then reshot those scenes that we shot during the day to shoot it at night because it was impossible to get it all during the day.
And a crucial scene.
Right, and a big scene. I mean, it's complicated.
Yeah, and I remember, Justin, I wanted you on the sidewalk, and you suggested that Yosef is so insecure at this point that he wouldn't go past this point. He doesn't. And I love that.
Straighten out.
So this scene, Justin, again, remember that session that we met over some script notes. You suggested this idea of Yosef teaching Sam how to drive,
Right.
and I couldn't figure out how to get it in. And then
it was something that we wanted to do. And then, you're gracious enough to encourage improvisation, and this was a scene that was that we definitely took some.
You guys, this was the
went off
second
the
to last
cuff.
day, and again, you were really, not to be corny, but giddy. There's the great Penny Batone.
I remember how you gotta stick your head out the window so we can recognize the character. We had a difficulty with trying to, establish who he is. So then when he comes into the next,
and now you're going to be hearing Stretch Armstrong, who was
plays
a classic,
to,
amazing
New
DJ.
York 90s.
Yeah, every Sunday night he had this radio show on Hot 97 that's just, it was authentic hip hop. Again, like Robin Bird, it was just those little details that brought realism to 90s New York.
This was another plot. This is another kind of theme introduced late into the process, which is about don't get too smart. This is like that was introduced on the plane. Then you hear it here.
It was a suggestion from you and your sister or something.
Yeah.
Was that? I don't know. You called me. I know it was your suggestion.
I don't remember.
It was.
I don't remember if Hallie.
And then he uses it with Ari.
And then he uses it with Ari.
Yeah, with Ari again. Yeah, it's just a delusion in a sense, right?
It's everybody kind of threatened by this, ultimately vague power.
Right.
That doesn't actually
It
exist.
also just shows that he really listens to Yosef. Sam really and he pays attention because he even repeats it to Rachel.
Yeah.
He's like, if you get too smart, and she's like, you don't even,
Yeah, it doesn't make any
Yeah,
sense.
but Yosef basically
it's also-
convinced him that it is true.
But it's also when Yosef does it, Yosef is doing it because that's all he has left. Oh, don't get too smart.
Yeah.
And that's all I have left with Rachel too. Oh, don't get too smart with the
You
one.
use it at the end
Right,
when you're. This is my hairy chest. I felt the Star of David should really
be surrounded by hair?
No,
Yeah.
it should really be like you know,
Okay. Yeah. Well, this is
the character.
this was something I added into the script later on. This whole night wasn't something that was on there in the original script. It was Justin. Sam took ecstasy early on in the movie,
Right.
and Justin said, it was too early. He took it too early. It needs to be later, and it should be in New York in his home and have this wonderful, great night experience with this group and his friends and Yosef and so on. And I went off and wrote this sequence here.
And you see the power play also that's happening with the side deals and Jackie, and it's very subtle the way it's presented and quick, but obviously is one of the main cruxes of the turnarounds of the plot
And,
with Penny, Jackie, and Yosef.
And now Sam is as compared to the first nightclub scene,
Is feeling comfortable
is embracing.
and we shot this at
Mansion.
Mansion in
That's the last day.
it was the last day. Yes.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, just for me, this is my new family, and he couldn't be more comfortable with everybody. I mean, even to the point of doing something like this. But these are the people now he trusts. But just as he's trusting them, Yosef is starting to pull away, and you see him just kind of, you see both, Justin and Danny in this scene,
Right.
both like, kind of left by the wayside while this young kid takes their girls in position.
I feel you'll see coming up. Jackie's character kind of motions Joseph to go on and just continue to
It's a
push
these are
himself on him. He's
calculating.
all
This is when you really
calculated.
see, this. What's interesting is Sam feels so comfortable in this new family, and yet, as the audience gets to see the calculating nature of Jackie and Yosef still, as Sam is dancing.
He's
and,
almost
They're
like
kind
a
of
puppet
watching
to
him.
Right.
And when it's kind of like Jackie feels he needs another person to go
Right.
in there and make him feel. So he's like motioning Joseph, and he's sitting there watching the whole thing as he's put it together.
Right. That he's.
Yeah, he's like.
He's completely becoming absorbed
I always
in this
felt-
lifestyle.
Yeah, I always felt like, they're really pushing alcohol on him and drug, and they're really like trying to corrupt this kid to the
Yeah.
point, and they're like giving him.
And
more
he's nodding
shots.
no, but he's smiling.
He's just
and
like
loving it.
in the
Yeah,
moment.
it's-
I mean, he's got girls on each side of him. He's just,
And this song here that we're hearing is an original song by Andre
which
Ellis.
I love, by the way.
Yeah, incredible. Again, this was the two composers, MJ Mynarski and Andre Ellis, and Andre created all the source music, all the techno music you're hearing. And these lines in this car are straight out of my home videos from those ecstasy experiences.
Shabbat is a state of mind.
Not that,
No,
but the other
okay.
lines. Yeah, can we stop for a second and trip for a minute? And
Oh, that was you actually have stuff like that? In
I
your home
actually,
video?
and then my eyes go in and out of focus. Oh, here it goes again. Yeah, that's right out of the home video.
I remember shooting this, and there were guys just moving the car.
Yeah, it's what we
It's
call
like
poor
we're-
man's process.
Yeah, we're sitting there
Yeah.
in this car.
And the lights are flashing in, and we're moving the car, and it works. And this, just to bring back all my drug experiences. So my mom is just literally killing herself at this point. The first time taking ecstasy, I ran across the bridge with my friend when I was 17, and that's where this idea came from. And yeah. What were you guys? What were you guys thinking here on this scene when you were racing? Was there a notion of who should win or what? We never even.
I mean, the only thing for me I remember was like at the beginning I was like trying to win, and then I was like, no, I should not beat him. I should not beat him.
And Sam is still messed up, and here we hear the wave again. This sound design, a great Tom Paul, our sound designer, who really just opened up the movie in a huge way. And
Yeah, that is such a huge thing when we when we were first watching like the early cuts of the movie, and it doesn't have, I mean, just the world of difference that
It feels
that
small.
sound design
Yeah.
can make is really huge.
Tell them,
this
Kevin,
scene,
tell 'em about the story.
this is an amazing. This is Lee Avenue in Williamsburg, and this is our second unit day. And we were filming on Shabbat, and there really wasn't anybody in the streets. And then this fire happened, this huge fire about 2 blocks up. And so this is actual smoke. And Jesse, were you scared dealing with? I mean, I don't know. You stepped into these people were all looking at you, and you're shooting, and we're on the middle
No,
of the
just
street. It
concerned.
was
I didn't want it to be kind of
insulting.
disrespectful.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure it was. I mean, luckily, I think no one was hurt in the fire. We found out, but there was a huge fire on the street, and so there was a huge crowd of, people dressed in, dressed in Hasidic, traditional Hasidic clothing, which we
Poured
wanted
out.
to get, and then they just came in droves to look at the fire. which was lucky for us. It was terribly unfortunate for the building, but I think no one was hurt.
And fortunate for our production. And coincidentally, the sermon you hear behind that is about, which was in the script, was the one where they put forth this weird incense in front of God. And
Oh, right, that's right.
Yeah, and he sets forth this fire, and they died before Hashem, the sons of Aaron.
The cutting off of the payas used to happen right after the wedding scene.
Right.
And it was, well, if I don't have a bride, then I don't have a place in this community. My friend married her, my place has been taken, and then I cut off the payas. Instead, this scene was put in, which I think is a nice lead up anyway. But again, going back to the scene outside with my sister, I watch it, and like the kind of the arc that I had made for myself is inconsistent. It doesn't way, but
It's all broken.
I remember early on when we were screening the movie, and I remember people saying, just close friends and family, that Sam's world has really got to be at a point where there's no return, there's no end, and the fact that his father throws him out of the house and says, "You're not my son," really puts him in a place
Right.
where there's no going back.
And that's what led me to move this scene here. Yeah.
And that's
Right.
why it makes sense for him to cut his past up into that. He didn't really have so much to lose because he's
Right.
always going back to the house. He was doing it on the side. He was always welcome back home. And at
Mark
this point,
is,
he's basically out of the family.
Yeah,
He's
Mark
done.
Mark Ivanier here is just incredible. I mean,
Incredible.
you're both incredible here, but
Incredible.
I struggled with this scene in the screenplay and really finding it always felt like a cliche moment of him being
we all
kicked out.
worked quite a bit on the scene trying to get it right. It's such an important scene. What I think is amazing about Mark in the scene is although he's wonderful in the whole movie and he's such a brilliant actor, he could really just be in this scene and no other scene, and it would be a fully realized character. You see the denial of the father figure. You see what he's going through, and it's just such a fully fleshed out scene and character piece by him. I mean, he's just fantastic.
This I remember shooting this, and I was really concerned about this. We talked very little about this, Jesse, and we did it so quickly, and it was just so right. It just amazed me that it didn't feel over the top.
Yeah, I really enjoyed doing this whole movie because it went so quickly. You kind of didn't have time to stop and obsess over, well, this is the moment where this happens.
Right.
When you do that, it rarely provides anything good. It just kind of provides the anxiety that's unnecessary and hurts the spontaneity of the scene anyway.
Although we did have quite a bit of time before we made the movie, so it was a rare situation. So we got to do that actually before we shot.
Right.
Are you doing Sonny there, Corleone? When you grab, you look beautiful.
I'm not.
Oh, I
I'm
thought
doing-
that was when he gets punched.
I'm doing Yosef. I just think
Right.
he's probably on ecstasy himself and enjoys touching people.
That is
Oh, it's
actually
Joseph.
Justin drinking vodka.
Yeah, no, it's gin. It's gin. I think.
Or
yeah.
actual alcohol.
It was
really
like
getting into
9
the
a.m.
character.
Yeah, on set.
At my apartment.
And that was not real ecstasy. But this is the point where Sam's sort of becoming like Yosef in a sense. He opens the door, he's given the speech that Yosef gave him. And Yosef likes, I think that he's created him into this person.
But
And
you can
this
kinda
scene
see-
we struggled with in a major way. In a lot of our screenings that we would show to our friends and family, this feedback, some of the dialogue that we recorded, the dialogue we recorded during production, just seemed inconsistent with Sam's character. And so it's all of Sam's dialogue has been re-recorded here in the ADR sessions, and to keep that consistency, that care that he has for Yosef, and that fear. There was, I think, at that point there was a real leap in terms of his confidence in being able to drive away and leave Yosef in the dust. But people felt their relationship was so
Originally,
important.
Yosef was supposed to be in the kind of the next few scenes, and it could be my fault. I might not have been able to make those days, but I think we all suggested that he takes a stance and drives away and leaves. It seems like such a proactive and off character move for Sam, and some people don't like it. I think it's great. I think it's a wonderful.
Once we put it in his
leads
head that
in-
he's torn about it,
Right.
it was okay.
Right.
When he wasn't torn about it, it felt too much.
I also feel it leans into the next scene where Jackie is asking, "Are you okay? Do you
Yeah,
we
yeah,
need
yeah.
to talk?"
There's something going
I mean,
on.
yeah, because
Sure.
he's on the phone with Yosef, going, "Where's my money?" Obviously, he's in on something. He knows what's going on.
Yeah.
And Sam is like, "Yeah, everything's fine.
Yeah.
Why don't I come with?" He's like, "No, meet me tonight."
This is another
at 5
young
o'clock."
great
Makes him a little uncomfortable.
A great actor, Eli Gelb, this young man who plays the drug mule, and just full of anxiety. This young man,
yeah.
he's
Full of
just-
anxiety.
just wonderful. So we're walking down the hallway, and this was again something that was. This was a piece that was earlier, and it just felt like a nice transition piece for Sam.
We have company, by the way. We have the phone.
Enough already. Put it somewhere. Yeah, you just
I really struggled with this scene.
Yeah.
I couldn't find my position. Remember,
I remember
was
earlier
going
on
to the couch. And,
we were playing with it earlier that day, and
Yeah.
Jesse suggested to play with the soccer ball and give it some sort of something that
Movement.
wasn't just two people sitting there having this or standing there having this back and forth, and kept it playful and still kept that childlike innocence with Sam. Was a great suggestion, and then Jackie, we put in this little. He throws the ball nice and hard at Sam, and the tone changes, and the game stops in a sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As Justin likes to point out to me, this is a freshman acting school technique, which
Okay.
which that's where I got it from, but probably doesn't belong in major motion pictures.
Well, Sam might have taken a summer acting class.
Yeah, he did the New York
Strasberg
Film
Institute.
Academy. Did it.
So Ari here, that morning, I mean, this is a scene that Jesse, myself, and Ari constantly played with in the days before shooting and rehearsing, and this was nothing that was on the page. This was something that was fully created in the rehearsal sessions.
Well, it's supposed to call back to the scene on the show, the scene on the couch.
Yeah.
With Zeldy, who I'm supposed to marry, and this is obviously a different version, but it's the same questions, but just in a totally different context. And of course, Sam feels more comfortable with Rachel at this point than he did with Zeldy in the beginning.
Yeah, well, she when we came in this morning, suggested she wanted to play it a little bit more vulnerable, and it was fascinating to see Rachel at this point sort of unmasked, and without the makeup and without the nightclub get up,
and no alcohol.
and no
or
alcohol,
drugs.
yeah.
She's just like.
and
It's so funny though, because right after this scene where she's so vulnerable and nice and sweet,
she's back.
we're in the club, and then they argue outside, and she's like, "You're just a child. You don't even know anything about us. I mean, why don't you mind your own business?" You know, which really brings her back to the way she really
Yeah,
is.
exactly.
And I remember meeting girls like that. And,
Yeah, I mean, we felt like she's a bit of a tragic character, Rachel, and
very confused.
Yeah, and
Also, Justin mentioned earlier that I did initially, like when we were thinking about the character, I thought like I was always kind of lobbying for the character to be cut because I felt it was kind of just the gratuitous girl character in the movie. But as literally when the first scene we did with Ari, which was not this scene, but the first scene we did with her, I realized not only is it integral, it makes the movie. I mean, not only does it make the movie so much better, but it's integral, and she plays it in a way that was not written. She's this. I mean, it was. She adds this great.
yeah, you know, Justin, I remember you suggesting just right before Ari got attached was how she seems out of the not fitting in terms of the themes of the film, and her. How do we bring her into the sort of Jewish element and her curiosity in a sense of Sam and her willingness to want to maybe.
Well, the key to Ari and really everyone that works for Jackie is once Sam enters into this world, their jobs and their realities tend to blur. And I think everyone in this drug community is a tragic figure, except for maybe Jackie, who is kind of he's a businessman. But Ari and Yosef, they're both almost the same character in a sense, where Ari might have some more conscience to her, but they're both confused and a bit lost.
And they don't have the sort of background
They
that
don't
Sam
have the
has.
faith.
Yeah,
They don't have the
faith.
Sam is the
Yeah.
faith that enters, and even though he's rejecting his faith, the residual effect almost rubs off on these other characters and affects them.
So this is Marquis again, and if you're listening, you're going to be able to get 10% off on your next visit there. And
One handbag check
here's
at the executive, David Fadin.
yeah,
Vadim
you know
was great.
I remember when he read with you, Jesse, right?
Yeah.
I think is what you said. I think I peed a little bit.
Yeah,
it was so
scariest
frightening.
experience I've ever had. Yeah. They say it's scary for the people auditioning for the movies.
Transport what I want.
So Danny, I recall we this was a challenging scene in a sense. 'Cause
was.
Jackie really had to show a lot of sort of vulnerability and range here, and that he doesn't have it all together, and he's sort of losing. He's lost control of Sam.
I remember doing the scene, and you took me to the side and said, you're not that tough anymore. I mean, now this guy's tougher than you. You have to kind of like, open up a little bit and try to be nicer or more acceptance of your position in this point.
Mm-hmm. He's still trying to hold it together. But
Yeah,
you
I was,
can't.
because the first scene, I don't know if you remember, I played really tough.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, well, we only transport, and you were
Yeah.
like, once everything happens, you realize that Mr. Maxim is more powerful than you. Q-Tip's character is like, calm down, what are you doing? And once I remember, I thought about it, and I was like, okay, I think I got it. I think I
Yeah, and
understand what
Jesse and
we need
Ari
to do.
were telling they needed that. They needed you were carrying that scene in a sense. Sam needed a reason to leave, and we got we all got there. So
It wasn't easy, but we got there.
we got there.
It's the first time you see the weakness in your character. It's
Yeah.
really, really interesting.
Mm-hmm. And so this next scene is the one we've been talking about, which is Rachel's last scene, Ari's last scene, and is.
Well, she was just so nice to him, and they were kind of like on the same page.
Yeah,
And
and
all of a
again,
sudden,
this was the this
seems
too
like-
was created by all of us in the rehearsal process. I mean, this wasn't something that was really in the script at all in this way, and all this dialogue and everything was found between the actors.
it just seems like once Rachel puts on the makeup and does the hair, she becomes a totally different person.
Yeah, and
so-
she's gonna go with what's easier and not the the life that just is yeah.
She's just so caught up in this world, and
yeah.
she doesn't want to let go of Jackie because she's comfortable with it, but in reality, she has a good heart, so she feels for Sam.
Well,
But
I don't know, it's
she's so conflicted at this point.
We had this was the last scene of that day, which was freezing, and this take side on Jesse. We had one take, and they wouldn't even give that to me. I remember, and
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, thanks, Danny. But of course we needed it, and this.
How lucky did we get with the snow?
It was gorgeous.
Beautiful.
This is supposed to be Amsterdam, but this is Dumbo, where we shot this in Brooklyn, and it was snowing, and it was sort of perfect because we were recreating Amsterdam in this Brooklyn area, and it gave it such a distinct feel in the fact that it was snowing in that one day that we were recreating a different country, and it's just gorgeous. So we and. This is all happening so quick. I remember I told Jesse just go up and just walk, and this was one take, and these were all one takes.
Right. This was also part of a much longer series of shots that didn't make it into the so we shot as much as we can and then cut out
Until we had no more
just the
light.
nicest parts.
This is my favorite scene in the movie.
Yeah, across the board, we hear that from everybody. I feel
My
the same.
favorite. I feel like it's such a powerful scene.
Yeah, this was actually Justin's idea for this scene. I remember we were riding on the subway going to rehearsal in Brooklyn, and he had this idea on the train, and we thought it was fantastic, and we ran the rest of the way to the production office because we were so excited that this kind of would come back in this way.
Right. Thank you, Justin.
Yeah, in the script, it was somebody who Sam was going to get over on and maybe get his career, and Justin
Right.
suggested it's be more of a prophet.
And
But we
it's
called him Elijah.
Such an
And,
amazing actor.
This guy is just.
He's just
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah,
What
as-
was his name again?
Oh boy,
Omri.
Omar.
Omar. Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
an Israeli actor who came to audition for something else totally, and we just
He had this very unique quality when
Yeah,
he auditioned
and
for the
we-
other part. He was not appropriate for it because the other part was supposed to be kind of a youthful, innocent
And
character.
the minute you guys came in and talked about this new idea, we were like, he's the guy.
Yeah, because he was
Let's
so
go.
wonderful at the audition, not exactly right for that part, but he had this
Right.
very wonderful quality to him, which is so kind. And so he appears to Sam here
And-
as, almost in this almost mythical figure.
It's funny you said it because he has such a kind smile and eyes. It's
Yeah,
just, when he looks
and
at him,
this
it's like,
shot is the one I was referring to early on in the movie, which is another silhouette shot, and sort
Comes
of-
back
It
to-
comes back as full circle of the journey and sort of Sam is in a
Same bench.
These are people just like him, and now he's using them, and he's in a different place.
Was that the second AD?
Yeah,
or was-
Rowdy. Jason.
Rowdy.
They Rowdy, good guy, but they kept pushing for me to have the crew in as extras, and I don't. That's whatever.
Well, it looks good. So let's move on.
Okay.
The customs agent. What was his name?
Court Young, he's a
Court
great
Young.
Los Angeles actor.
Yeah, he
That
completely
would've been-
improvised this.
would've
You know,
been
there was no dialogue
perfect
here.
He was just great for this part. He's just a really, really great actor, and we're lucky to have him in just a little role. He came to help us out for a day.
He did a great job.
What you're hearing here is a Mattis Yahoo track, and this was what I was referring to, and it was so unique, and it was something I used as temp, and we tried to replace, but it just couldn't be. It was really impossible to replace and make as good as this works. It's just. This is outside Newark Airport. That was that day, and here we are back in the nightclub.
And this kind of wrap up to Yosef was almost completely improvised from the script to the setups and everything. It was a hard thing to figure out of how we actually.
Well, we were
wanted
supposed to shoot outside.
Wrap up his character. So we, there is an ambiguous sense to what will happen to him, but obviously there's a sense of dread when it comes to this. This dark setting, and he seems obviously also delusional with where he wants to go, and it's almost comical.
Yeah, this in the script, it was always intended to be out. Sam not being able to get in the club, and you coming out and having a conversation. It was again pouring ice rain. So we had to shoot inside the club. So we all ran around finding the right location for it inside the club, and ended up using this red room, and that just worked as sort of this antithesis of that scene
Back to
of
Ben
the
Hutchins.
when he has the tefillin on
Such a
Amsterdam.
beautiful.
Yeah, and Ben just thinking so quick on his feet, and I mean, this just looks incredible.
Justin actually wrote this scene about 20 minutes before we shot it.
Yeah, completely.
He
I
said,
mean,
"What-
the
what
day
if he
before.
has-" Yeah, I was
the
the
day
day
before.
before.
Well, no, he wrote it that day because the day before, what was in the script was something Justin and I, when we met together, and we're going over some rehearsing, and I loved what you came up with, what was in the script, but you said, well, I think we should go somewhere else, and the next morning was when you came up with this idea of him running away.
I always get
And,
the question:
yeah.
So Justin Yosef never comes back, and he leaves him there.
Yeah,
it's like
that's
I'll be
the
right back.
idea.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
idea is So basically, Sam is left by himself, and that's why he's wandering the streets. And
Yeah, so I mean, this is fully improvised between. I mean, I think you did write some of it down up in that.
Well, the night before I wrote down some ideas, and then we got lucky with these allusions to purgatory with this dark red hue, and using that with him being stuck and not really being able to ever do anything, and then Sam finally realizes that. It took him a while, but he finally realizes how delusional and what a dead end Yosef and everything that he represents is.
And this, Jesse, we shot on our second unit day that same we did on Lee Avenue and all of that, and this was the very last thing we shot, if you remember. We had like one little bit of film left, and we had no light.
Right.
And
Yes, we were
it was
just
your
looking-
idea
Yeah.
that maybe he should find a place to
Yeah, to
sit
just
and
rest for a while.
rest and
Wait till the morning.
I love the rabbi talking.
yeah.
in
So
the
this was a
background.
discovery in the editing room.
I
that-
love it, and I love that he says all men must,
Yeah, well, this
That's
is the
my
theme
favorite.
of
It's my favorite
the
thing.
film, in a sense that where are you in place of God? And there were some lines that ended up we not using between Leon and Sam in the scene that's coming up, and there wasn't clear. This message wasn't coming through, so we took those lines out, and then we put this sermon back in over the course of what's
Brilliant.
driving Sam, and it worked. Here is a nice detail. I remember Jesse you asked me, there's something I think I should do. Something that I did back earlier, should I play with a trash can? Should I do something like that? And the idea that I suggested was this: you simply open the fence very gently and put yourself back into it. And I love it. And from I've noticed early on in the movie, the fences are always wide open and being slammed in this sort of disrespectful way, and
Right.
the coop is open in a sense, and here you are putting yourself back in, and it's
Yeah.
and these birds that
That was awesome.
we had a great bird wrangler on the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, how did this happen?
It was what you call beautiful accidents as well. I mean, that's that.
It's almost like another like cheap metaphor. If we had planned that and spent so much money on like these
Yeah.
birds
It
finally
would probably
free,
not
Right.
be.
but almost
Yeah,
But it's
out
really
of-
We
beautiful.
accomplished for free what John Woo has been spending millions of dollars on for his whole career.
And this was suggested by Justin as well, that we struggled so much with how to wrap up this story in the script that had more of a genre element and wrapped up more of the crime, and we've in the course of the weeks leading up to shooting, all of that fell to the wayside at the end, and it was about just this simple
Sam's
scene and
journey
coming
is
home
kind
and
of-
Sam's journey,
yeah.
and bringing back Leon, which I loved. I mean, it was the exact answer that I've been looking for, and
Leon, who's now a rabbi, who's now almost an elder to Sam.
and showing
Right.
compassion in a sense, yeah. And Jesse, I remember that this was something that before we were shooting it, I sat. You asked me to be a little, nearby, and we were. I started to break down and cry, actually,
I think-
because I just wanted to understand what you were going through and wanted to be able to give you the right direction. So I was trying to tap into that, and this sirens and all the police.
put in.
This was put in
I just
post-production
love
as
how
well.
You see, it's so funny how Leon is sitting to the right and Sam sitting to the left, and the two decisions, if either you made right or left, and Leon seems so happy and content with himself, and Sam's character so broken down, and that's just
this
the decision you make.
Yeah, so these were always a very controversial thing within our group, whether to use these character names or keep it. This was my decision. I've tried both ways, and I felt there was without the characters' names, you felt like it was a TV movie wrap-up.
There was no
You were
closure
so
for what
involved
we-
with these characters that whether they're real people or not, and they're not, that you needed to see their names and to take the bridge into this scene. Now, this scene was always in the script, but it was never written this way. It had more of an obvious sense of a wrap-up in a sense, but
And this was Jesse's, I believe.
Yes.
It was a freezing day, and Jesse was. There was like a little barn kind of near this location, or like a little where we were. It was like a tiny.
we're in
little
Fort
place.
Totten.
Fort Totten, Queens.
And Jesse came up with this kind of great metaphor using a book that he was reading
Right.
instead of using an obvious wrap up for talking about the previous events.
And I love how Sam's character goes back to the religion. You can see it kind of. He has his yarmulke.
And this, I really thought about how to sort of lay down the. No, I'm kidding. This has been the DVD commentary of Holy Rollers, and we've been very proud to be here. And
Probably should be mentioned, Antonio is not here. He wrote such a wonderful script, and we all,
that's-
as we talk about everything and how collaborative it was, it started off with a really wonderful script. All these characters were in the original script, and we were able to bring stuff to him, but that's because Antonio and Kevin, as a director, were very open to that and collaborative. But the initial script was what attracted us, and we were really excited by it.
yeah, I mean, you can't find these discoveries unless you're coming from a place, and then you're completely lost in a sense. And it's just this is it, I think.
Shalom.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Shannon, thank.
Okay.
That was.
You guys want to do it again?
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
And even the stars so bright may not have enough light. And if I should lose my way, I know when the morning comes, sun shines on, it's gonna shine on, shine on, shine on a new day. It's like it's before the dawn. I'm in the light, I'm in the light, I'm in the light, I'm in the light, and I know there's darkness before